Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael,
And I'm Molly.
and we are here today to talk the penultimate episode of Survivor 49. We are just about at the end of this season somehow. And also, we will be covering the Amazing Race 38 finale, where we covered the first couple episodes back when it first started, and we decided it would be a great time to check back in and give our thoughts on the season as a whole, some highlights from the finale, and our final four teams that we had start the episode here. But before we get to that, Molly, you ready to talk some Survivor?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So after the last tribal council, excuse me, where Yellow Sophie went home, Rizzo talks to us about the fact that he still hasn't used his idol yet somehow. And Steven asks him if this is the last round where he can use it. And he lies and says yes, even though we know and he knows that he can actually still use it till final five. So the reason that he gives for why he has decided, or why he is not only able to use it till final six, because at this point it's Survivor 49. Most of these people are fans of the show. They know that usually these idols are still good till five. But the reason that he gives them is that because this was actually found pre-merge, that it's only good till six, whereas idols that are found after the merge are good till five. So, Molly, if you were told this story, do you think that you would believe this, or what would your thought process be?
Yeah, it's interesting how it seems like no one's questioning it at all on the island. And I feel like maybe at this point they're just really hungry and not thinking straight in certain ways. Maybe that's a factor into it. But I think I would see through it. I don't know, just in terms of if obviously we know Survivor and it seems like people on the show this season also do. So it's like it's seemingly that like they should understand that. But his reasoning sounded pretty believable. Like I think it just comes off with like Rizzo's confidence that people just don't really question the things he's saying, it appears. And it just more so a testament to how Rizzo's able to portray it versus like the fact that he's giving them is like not true.
Yeah, I think that the smart thing to do is to ask to see the note. I feel
Yeah.
like because every idol comes with a note and it gives all the instructions when you can use it till blah blah blah. So I think that would be if you're kind of in the back of your mind questioning it a little bit. I think that would be my first thought because I think like you can kind of almost get away with that. Like maybe don't ask for it right then, but then like I don't know at some point later in the day or whatever, you're like just there's nothing else to do out there. It's like, "Oh, can I see the note? I'm curious to see what it looks like, the note when you get an idol, because I never got one." Like, I feel like there's, like, a way to go about that where you can ask to see it, and then if he's sketchy about it, like, "Oh, I don't know where it is, blah, blah, blah," then you start to think, there's a reason why he doesn't wanna show that to me." So I feel like that's probably the smart thing to do, but I also don't know when I am that hungry and tired and everything, like, I would probably start questioning to myself, like, am I going crazy? Like, maybe this has always been the case. Has like there been an instance in the past that I can think of where an idol was only good till six because it was found pre-merge? Like, I feel like maybe I'd start to convince myself that it is true, and I would be feel stupid for not knowing that ahead of time. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows?
I know because that's it's so interesting because we're not in their heads, obviously, but like maybe they are having those thoughts, and just the way that we're seeing it, also being portrayed via the edit, is making us believe it a different way. So there could be other beliefs out there that people are just not portraying it through the show.
Yeah, for sure. Well, then we get to the reward challenge. Our final six compete for a Mexican feast at the sanctuary, as well as letters from home. Which I started to think like maybe we're not getting letters this season because it feels later than we normally get them. But maybe again that's just me misremembering. But in the new era, we haven't had any actual loved ones visit. So if you remember the first 40 seasons of the show, with the exception of a few seasons here and there. They always used to have the loved ones actually come fly in and come, whether it was compete in the challenge with them or just be at the reward or go back to camp with them, lots of different variations of it. But, Jeff has said or claims that some castaways actually say that they prefer the letters to the actual loved ones' visits because that's something that they can keep and read with them every day. What do you think you would prefer if you were out?
Yeah, well, I do miss when their loved ones would come out and you'd see their reunions, and it was just really sweet moments we got to see on TV. But I do think the letters kind of do mean more in other ways because then, like, they do keep it and have it as a reminder. And as we've seen in other seasons, like, they remember and they read those letters and like help them with their final tribal speeches and stuff like that. That I feel like you don't get that if it's just my family came here. Um, so, so I think that adds to the show also in that way. So I like both. I don't know. I don't know which one I prefer.
Yeah, I think that if this was earlier in the season, I think I could see the wanting the letters instead of the visits because if it's earlier, the twofold. First, it hasn't been as long since you've seen them, so it might not be quite as like emotional of a reunion when it's maybe day 14 or something. But and then also you have those letters for longer at that point. But here it's like what, it's day 22, like it's 4 days, like I think that an in-person reunion at that point would mean more to me because they get to see what you're going through, they get to experience it with you, and that's a memory that you'll have for a lifetime with them. And I feel like this is such a unique experience, and to at least have someone, a loved one that can maybe not understand what you went through, of course, like physically and mentally, but
Yeah.
at least to have some idea of like the environment that you were in, and the whether they see the camp or just see a challenge or whatever, like I think that means a lot to be able to have someone, a loved one that you can connect with in that way. And I think that for 4 days, like I think that's enough fuel to get you through it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I hadn't seen that discourse online, but it's interesting that like the people on the cast were saying that because I would have thought that the in person like experience also would have meant more to people just for that like seeing them in person and hearing how much you're going through and actually seeing it firsthand is a nice experience for them to have forever. So yeah, I agree that it has to be like later on if they bring them in or like the letters should come earlier than just the episode before the last one. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like we talked about last week or the week before, I can't remember, with the rice negotiation, how like
Yeah.
that's happening too late in the season now. I think maybe these letters are happening a little bit too late in the season too. I don't know. Maybe, well, maybe not. Maybe like, I would rather, again, like an actual loved one's visit, and I think that would, this late in the game especially, like that would really mean a lot. Like we see it like on Australian Survivor, they have the loved ones come in for the last immunity challenge. Like that's
Mhm.
really late in the season, and they get to watch the challenge with them. And then they used to actually be at the final tribal with them too, so they would have a loved one there to celebrate their win, which is really cool. I don't think they do that anymore since
Yeah.
COVID, but yeah, no, I think that for, I guess, with the shortened game, I guess, with originally it was probably COVID restrictions that made them not be able to bring in their loved ones in person, and that's just kind of all these COVID restrictions. They just kind of have kept going because it's cheaper to do it. So but if they can bring them in for Love Island, they can bring them in. Just have them fly on the plane, with the Love Island loved ones, right? They were
Yeah,
filming at the same time, around the same
they're all
time.
in Fiji. Yeah.
Yeah,
They should
yeah,
carpool.
yeah, exactly. It'll just have them, take the same seats that they reserve for Love Island. The crew can go separately or
Yeah.
something. All right. Well, Savannah wins the reward challenge and decides to take Rizzo and Sophie with her on this reward. So this was interesting because she basically decided to, the alliances are open enough at this point that might as well take her two closest allies with her for this reward. And, the battle lines have been drawn. So, what did you think of this decision here? Would you have been afraid at all of leaving the other three at camp alone together, or is it kind of, it's going to happen regardless?
Yeah, I did think that because of how obvious it is right now of like the three versus three and the fact that Savannah just wanted to be with people she wanted to be with, it made sense, especially with it being the family letters. Like she couldn't just betray her friends like that, it seemed like at this point in the game. And they've been working together for a really long time. I think in terms of emotional side of it, like makes total sense. Maybe on the game side of it, it would have been better for her to bring someone else there, like Sage. But I feel like, and to try to get her back on her side. But I feel like overall, like it wasn't really going to change much of the game as a whole, just because it already was so drawn.
Yeah, I think you have to bring Soph to this reward because if you don't bring her, then there's too big of a chance that the other two that you leave behind will brainwash her into going against Rizzo and Savannah. Like I just think that it's too dangerous. Soph has talked too much about the fact that she needs to make a move against Rizzo and Savannah in order to have that game-winning move. So I think that was a very smart decision to bring Soph.
Mhm.
I don't have a strong opinion, I guess, of whether it was smart to bring Rizzo and just have your whole three there, or is Rizzo already an ally that you know 110% he's not going to go against you? Like, is it smarter to bring someone like Sage, who maybe you can try to work and convince that to flip on Christina and Steven? Clearly she didn't even need that that reward in order to start thinking that way. But I do wonder if maybe she had brought Sage that they I don't know. I guess it didn't really matter in the end, so who cares? I guess
Yeah.
why even think too hard about it?
I know. They were really trying to play that up though, like earlier in the episode. I was like, oh, is this gonna be bad for Savannah? And then all this
Yeah.
stuff, but it didn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's final six. It's very clearly 3-3. Might as well, like, you're not telling anyone anything they don't already know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, back at camp, Steven reveals his block of vote advantage to Christina and Sage. If you remember last week when he got that, he had kept it a secret from everybody and just told them that he had won something, but didn't reveal what it was. So now he has told Christina and Sage the details of that. And they are hoping to target Savannah to use that to their advantage to get that extra uh 3-2 vote that then they control what happens at this tribal. And they're hoping Savannah doesn't win immunity so that they can just get her out now. But Christina tells them that Sophie was ready to turn on Rizzo and Savannah, but she's nervous that this reward could change her mind. So, meanwhile, back at the reward, Sophie does say that she's now leaning more towards sticking with her alliance until the end, that being taken on this reward was a sign that she should just stick with them. So it seems to have worked that what they were hoping would happen happened, that this was able to prevent Soph from kind of getting more in her head about the fact that she needs to turn on them, and now she's thinking of sticking with them. So they finally named their alliance. Thank God, I've been wanting an alliance name for them. They are Tres Leches, which I thought was very
Yes.
cute.
I love Tres Leches, so I love that this is their name.
Yeah, me too. Well, Sophie, this is the big moment here at this reward. Sophie finally reveals her knowledge is power advantage to Rizzo and Savannah. Molly, what did you think about Sophie revealing this? I think we all kind of had this hope that Soph was going to surprise everybody with this knowledge is power
Mhm.
advantage at tribal, maybe steal Rizzo's idol with it and have this game-winning move. That now she has revealed it to them, and that is no longer really a possibility.
I know. As soon as she said that, I was screaming at the TV and I was like, no, she could have kept it. But I felt like because of her just having the margarita maybe hit her and like, this environment that she's now like feeling like she's really, really close with them. The three of them, they just named their all alliance. So I feel like with that, her emotions were just in that place where she's like, okay, I can trust these people. I should tell them. So I can't fault her for that. And like in that regard, like it makes sense. But I also wish for our sake that we were able to see it be a total surprise for everyone.
I know. Like I kept seeing this moment in my head of Soph just like shocking the players, the jury, everyone with this advantage that she found so long ago and hadn't told a soul. That is so incredibly rare in this game to
Mhm.
go as long as she did without telling even her closest allies about this huge advantage. One of the most powerful things in the game
Yeah.
she has and has not told a soul until now. And yeah, I think at this point, I knew deep down that she was not going to flip on Rizzo and Savannah, like, at Tribal.
Same.
Like, there was still hope that, yes, she could decide, at the end of the episode, like, there's this buildup of is she not going to take Rizzo's idol or use it on Steven's advantage? Like, which way is she gonna go? But I knew she's not gonna tell them about it if she's gonna even like if there's like even an inkling in her mind that she
Mhm.
would use it on Rizzo's idol, I don't think she would have said anything. So I think at this moment it was like, okay, yeah, it's done.
I agree. I felt like because of that, I mean, they kept on trying to play it up that she would use it on Rizzo, but because of her telling Rizzo, it didn't really make sense. And then to use it on him, like based on the editing we were seeing. And I don't know, it was crazy to see her say that finally. And I was happy that at least, like, oh, we'll see later on. It just does, at least it wasn't as crazy. It could have been crazier, but it would have been worse if she used it and then, like, was also going home herself. So
Yeah,
yeah,
which I think a
we'll get to
lot of us thought was really going to happen, but we'll get to
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Let's not skip ahead here. But Rizzo, Savannah, and Soph read their letters from home. They all get emotional. Did any of the messages or stories that you heard at this during this stand out to you in particular?
I just felt like Rizzo's family, I feel like we hadn't heard a ton of his upbringing as much as, like, we have had some personal stories, but because of the way the season started, it feels like we didn't really get to see much of Uli and Hina and, like, any of them that much. And so it's nice to have Rizzo's story finally, like, really given the spotlight here. And so I felt like that just it just was heartwarming to hear how much he really wants to give back to his family. It was really sweet.
Yeah, no, and I loved like, the fact that his brother wrote to him without even knowing that he was out
Mhm.
there. That was really interesting. I forgot that he hadn't told his brother he was going to be on the show at all. So, yeah, I think Rizzo's also to me kind of hit the hardest, and he got so emotional like very quickly about it. Like it was like immediately as soon as he opened the letter, he started crying. And yeah, these moments, I love the family, whether it's a family visit or the letters, whatever form it is. I do love these moments because at this point it's like we are feel so connected to these players because now it's we're 12 episodes in, we've it's been 3 months that we've been watching them. So I love these moments that we get to delve a little deeper into their personal lives and get to know them on a deeper level. So yeah, I always get a little emotional seeing these moments.
Yes, same for me, but it was really great to see them all get them, as these also are my favorite 3 players, so I'm glad that they all got to experience the love letters and I saw that moment between, also, they all seem to be comforting each other too in the moments they were reading them, which was sweet to see them and, like, that friendship, how they evolved as well.
Yeah, like I feel like these are the three of these final six that we have gotten to know the most. They're the
Mhm.
three that have probably gotten the most camera time of everyone this season. So, Soph, we saw a lot in the pre-merge, and then Savannah and Rizzo, we've seen a lot in the post-merge. So these three, yeah, like they're close with each other. We got to know them so well over these last weeks. So yeah, I think of any three that could have gotten these letters and it have it really, hit home, I think that these are the three that were the best to have gotten.
Yes, agreed.
Well, then we get to the immunity challenge, which Savannah wins yet again. And Sage comes in second. She gets very emotional after losing. I thought that, seeing her kind of like talk to herself at the end of that, like, I actually maybe thought that she was going to pull it out just because, like, it really felt like we were getting so much of like her perspective almost like of those two, but Savannah was never. Savannah could have gone another 30 minutes, it looked like. So, practically I thought like, oh, Savannah's got this, but then I thought, well, maybe like she kind of like just slips up or something, and Sage pulls it out. But no, Savannah wins yet another immunity challenge. And do you think that I feel like we've asked this question before, but do you think if she had not won this, would she have gone home?
I think so. I think this immunity is saving her week after week, and especially now with it being this close, and then like we know obviously Steven had also the power. Like I think it could have been in a different direction had Savannah lost this immunity and Sage won instead. So this also had a lot at stake for this challenge, especially it felt like for this week. And I think that's also why Sage. I mean, just because she wanted to win too, but I think that also made it so that she knew like it obviously wasn't going to be Savannah if she lost to Savannah, and she kept on gunning for Savannah. So it extra hit Sage in that moment, I think, too, of like, ugh, like it was so close physically, but also like in the game wise of trying to get her out. But yeah, I just think at this point, like she's such a big threat, like they were gonna go for her.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Unless Rizzo and Savannah and Soph could have like figured out, used their idol on the right person and canceled out all the votes, and then they could have gotten out who they wanted regardless. But yeah, I mean, I guess assuming that Rizzo doesn't use his idol on Savannah correctly, yeah, I think that Savannah probably does go home, because the only reason why Christina and Sage ended up turning on Steven was because Soph was the only other option that wasn't protected, of someone who's not in their three. And Sage really sees Soph as being in her final three. And so I think that that was the only reason why her wheels started turning of like, of going after Steven. And so assuming that Savannah isn't protected immediately, then yeah, I mean, I don't think that Sage starts really thinking that way. And then obviously Christina doesn't go along with her. So yeah, I mean, I think that if Savannah is vulnerable here, I think that she probably does go home.
Yeah, I know, and it's crazy that that would have changed so much in the season if that happened.
I know, it's always crazy to think that like if one person doesn't win the right immunity, or if someone doesn't just happen upon an immunity idol randomly, or if some conversation doesn't get overheard, whatever it is, so many little moments can change the entire trajectory of a season, which could then change the entire trajectory of another like all-star season, because somebody doesn't get invited back because they don't make it as far as they did. It's crazy how like these little moments can impact all of all of Survivor history. So
I know, really
yeah,
crazy.
yep, it sure is. Well, at camp, Steven says that since Savannah won immunity and since Rizzo has an idol that they think expires today, the next best thing to do is to get out Soph. So Sage, however, is starting to believe that she wouldn't be able to beat Steven and may need to get him out instead. She wants Christina and Soph with her in the final three, like I had mentioned earlier. So what do you think about this thought process for Sage? Does this make sense to you, or is it just like go with your three?
Yeah, I don't know. When she was trying to explain it, it was kind of making sense in the moment of thinking that, well, Steven is a threat and we could get him out now. He didn't win this immunity, and he's also a top competitor here in the game. I mean, there's only 6 left, but like still one of the top competitors here. So it in that way, I guess it made some sense. But of in terms of just in general of like the alliances at this point, like why are you trying to go after your own person? Like it didn't really make sense in that way.
Yeah, I think at first I really didn't understand it, because I was like, why are we overcomplicating this? Like, Soph is right there. Just take you can't get out the head of the snake, if you will, like Rizzo and Savannah, like the two that I think they think are the biggest threats of the three. But at least you can get out their closest ally. Like at least you can have the numbers on your side, and you know. you have a 3. That's
Yeah.
as few numbers as you need. It's not like you have to get out. It's not like there's a Big Brother and there's a final 2 and you being one of 3 is potentially not enough. Like, you have 3 of what will be final 5. Like, that's as good as you could ask for.
Yeah.
So, I didn't understand it at first, but come when I think about it more, I do see where she's going with it in the sense that she thinks that her best chance to win this game is having Christina and Soph with her in the final 3. If you get out Soph, at this point, it's like, I think in Sage's mind, she's like, it doesn't matter if I make it to final 3, really, because
Mhm.
I'm going to be there with somebody, whether it's Steven, Savannah, or Rizzo, who will probably beat me. So her only chance, even though it makes her chance to get to final 3 maybe a little bit uh, weaker, it still gives her the chance to make final 3 and likely win the game.
Yeah. It's a riskier move, but it could have a greater reward.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, big risk, big reward, whatever the phrase is.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, so for that reason, it does make sense, for that, but it's interesting that I feel like we weren't seeing much like, we saw some snippets of her talking about Steven, but for the extent of, like, what we end up seeing in the episode, like, I feel like we could have had more of that.
Yeah, it does feel like that is happening a lot this season, actually, where it's like all of a sudden out of nowhere you hear something and it's like, wait, what? Since when have they been like thinking that way? It's and I feel like normally Survivor does a bit of a better job of leading up to moments that make when it happens, it makes a lot of sense. Whereas here it's like, oh, wait, what? Suddenly, Sage is thinking of targeting Steven. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know why we've been having that feeling this season. It seems like more often than usual, but yeah, at least to me, it did feel like it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, I know. I feel like maybe it's part of the editing or maybe just, I don't know, the focus of people we want to see or they think we want to see throughout the season. So could just be left out, just not on purpose or
And
just
I do
because.
wonder if maybe editing this season, knowing who goes into Survivor 50, is
Yeah.
making them focus more on certain people than they normally would.
Yeah. I think that also has a factor into it.
Yeah. Well, Sage tells Christina her plan, but Christina wants to stick with Steven's plan and target Sophie tonight. Christina talks to Steven and seemingly accidentally lets him know that she and Sage were floating the idea of turning on him. Uh, I guess we'll pause here. What did you think of Christina telling him this?
Yeah, I don't it was an interesting moment because I don't think it was the smartest move, obviously. I think Christina is just too much of an open book, I guess you could say. And she just wanted to tell Steven everything that was on her mind, and she was just rambling, and it just came out. Even though then, like, obviously, you're not going to want to tell the person you might flip on him, who you're going to might flip on, or potentially because even if it's coming up, like Steven caught it. He's like, "Wait, why were you guys talking about me? Like, you shouldn't be like bringing up someone's name who you think have trust in, or like who thinks has trust in you as well."
Mhm.
So that was an interesting moment for sure.
Yeah, like there was a small part of me that was like, maybe this is Christina's way of cluing Steven in that Sage has been bringing his name up, but then Steven can't go to Sage later and actually say that Christina warned him that she was bringing his name up. Like, the way that she did it was in a way where it was almost accidental. And so he can't, like, rat her out to Sage, if you will. So that was my only thought, that maybe like that would actually be very smart. I think if Christina, if that was Christina's goal, like, claps to her, because she very believably did that, and they very clearly just kind of both decided to brush it off as Christina being a sloppy player. Now, I think in all likelihood, it probably was just her being a sloppy player.
Yeah,
But I would like to give her more credit than that, because she is a big fan of the show, and she is, someone who clearly knows this show and the strategy inside and out. So, but you never know, I guess, until you're actually there, how good of a player you're going to be. So,
Yeah,
who knows?
for sure.
Well, before Tribal, Soph is debating whether to use her knowledge as power advantage to take Steven's block a vote or Rizzo's idol. So, going into Tribal here, we've talked a little bit about this, but which way did you think that she was going to go?
Because of her having the reward with Rizzo and Savannah, I just felt like she wasn't gonna turn on Rizzo at this point, even if I really wanted her to. Like, and all the confessionals, really, when she started talking about her grandma, I was like, wait, maybe now is the chance that she's gonna do it. Like, is she gonna try to make a really big move here? And then her heart just came into it again, and then she realized she couldn't do it and just stuck it to do it with Steven instead, which was like kind of her plan originally. So yeah, it would have been more exciting to see it go for Rizzo, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I still do think that that would have been the best move for her
Yeah.
was to use it on Rizzo, because if she gets to final 3 at this point, like, she just doesn't really have a fighting chance of winning, like, honestly, no matter who she's up against. Like, I can't think of 2 players that don't have bigger moves than her and more impressive story for the jury than her. Like, I think her pre-merge was fantastic. Like, I think if you just stopped the season there, like, she has a huge chance of winning this game. But unfortunately, pre-merge just doesn't really matter, like, at this point, because nobody besides Alex that is on the jury saw any of that. So they have really no clue what happened. So yeah, I just think that that was her last chance to really make, like, even if she had stolen Steven's idol or advantage here correctly, like, yeah, I think that maybe that gives her a little bit more in the consideration if she makes it to final 3, but still doing it on Rizzo's idol would have been a game-winning move for her.
I know. And especially also knowing that, I mean, an idol is more power than whatever you think Stevens is, because you don't even know at
Mhm.
that point what Stevens'
What it
advantage
is,
even
yeah.
is. So, like, it's going with just knowing there is some advantage, don't even know what it is versus, what you really know what
Yeah.
Rizzo's advantage is.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Well, at Tribal, Sophie decides to use her knowledge as power on Steven's block a vote, but she is unable to do so because he already technically used it and does not have it anymore, because we saw him in his confessional say, I am deciding to steal Savannah's vote or block Savannah's vote with my knowledge as power. So, because he had already made that final decision, he no longer technically had the advantage in his possession. So Soph is unable to steal it because he does not have it in his possession. So it's complicated.
Yeah.
I don't love this just
Same.
as a game mechanic. I think that there needs to be some way for Steven to say, like, at the same time, every other advantage has to be used, for him to say, I am blocking, maybe they all go and vote. And then he says, without knowing who voted for who, then he goes, okay, I am blocking Savannah's vote. So then whenever, before the votes are read, Jeff takes Savannah's vote out of the urn. I don't know. I feel like that's maybe the way to do it. Because I just think that it's kind of not great that she had no way of knowing that this was even a possibility.
Yeah, I really fell for Sophie in this moment because how was she supposed to know? Like, I was like, wait, that doesn't really make sense that she can't use it now just because, or doesn't work now because he has already used the power. Like, but that he was forced to use the power beforehand. And if, like, she had known that, maybe she would have stolen it last week or, like, taken it, like,
Yeah.
prior, but she didn't know that was going to be a factor into the next week's vote and like how it's gonna all pan out there.
Hmm.
So that annoyed me that just because it was already spoken as like I'm playing this against Savannah, now she couldn't steal it.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's like, Soph didn't do anything wrong here, but
Yeah.
still, I think a lot of fans are telling her like what an idiot she is when there's no way for her to have known that. But just because we've known it all this time, because they've made it very clear to us, knowing what happened,
Yeah.
so they wanted to make sure we understood it when it happened, she had no way of knowing that really. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't love it. I think that there has to be some better way to do this where all of the advantages are up for the taking for someone who has knowledge is power. And honestly, for the show purposes, they should want that to be the case
Yeah.
because then it's more likely that it's going to be used correctly, which we've never seen knowledge is power used correctly. And I actually love it as an advantage because that moment where it does work is gonna be so, so cool.
I know. I feel like that we just got robbed of the moment this season because of this stupid rule that they had to play before tribal, and that was just unfair to Sophie in that moment.
Yeah, like, wouldn't it have been so much better television if it had worked? Like, I
Yeah.
just think that would have been so exciting, so it's like, why make it more difficult for that to happen? Because I would think you would want it to happen. So,
Agreed. I know. I wish it worked.
yeah. I do too. But after voting is over, Rizzo goes up to Jeff, acting like he's going to use his idol yet again, but it is again a fake out and he does not use it at all. And he has some conversations with Savannah and Soph trying to figure out like what the advantage was that Steven had and who he used it on and all this information before he went up there. But then, yeah, it was all for show because he yet again somehow his idol is unplayed and he now has it still available to use at Final Five, which is the last possible time. It's wild how long he's had this thing, and he still has it available in Final Five to be used. But were you surprised when he didn't use it here?
I was. I thought he might have used it on Sophie, to try to save her and save their alliance. But then when he didn't play it, I think it made sense. And then for me, even more so, was like, well, why didn't Sophie just steal his idol? Like that made me mad for her to see like he wasn't
Yeah.
gonna play it on her. But then Sage does know it's gonna work now, so it's like now at least he knows he's gonna have to use it now next week. And Sage knows that he has that idol for next week, so at least there's that. It's not like a total secret now that that's there still is an idol in play.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was interesting to see that happen, and Rizzo's just continues to be lucky with that.
Yeah, it's wild. Do you think that he will actually use it in the next round, or is there a possibility that he will feel confident enough that he doesn't have to use it, that he will keep it, and that way he can at final three, if if he then makes it that to then, that he can say to the jury, "Hey, I never even had to use this idol. I have had it since, it was a week 4 and he all made it all the way and didn't even use it on the last tribal where he could use it, and he gets to wear it around his neck at final 3 and say, "I have played such an incredible game that I have made it this far without ever using that idol."
Yeah, I mean, that would be major for him to not have to play it, but I just think he won't risk his safety next week of making it to the finals of like making it just past final 5 into final 4. So, I think he would play it, but if he feels so confident, like maybe he won't. I don't know. I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
I mean, I think at this point he should feel pretty confident. Like
That's true.
it's final 5 and he has if Soph was going to turn on Rizzo and Savannah, she would have done it. Like I just think at this point Rizzo and Savannah can feel pretty confident that Soph is not going to turn on them. And I think he should feel pretty confident that Savannah's not turning on him. So like honestly, maybe he shouldn't play it. Like
Yeah.
I just don't see a world where even if he doesn't use it, I don't see a world where he goes home.
That's true. Yeah, so maybe he just saves it and then uses that for his one of his speaking points in the finale.
Yeah, because like the Block vote's out. The Christina's idol is not in play anymore. Like, what? They don't have anything. So, I mean, like, whoever. like, if one of them wins immunity, the other one gets voted out. If not, it's one of the, toss a coin,
Yeah.
I guess. Like,
I know it's easy for them to either go for Sage or Christina at this point, so
yeah. So, like, I don't know. I think that maybe I think there's a good chance he doesn't use it. But
yeah, we'll see.
yeah.
Mark your words.
Now, yeah.
Michael says he will not play it. I don't know.
Well,
I'm gonna
yes, we're about to get to predict official predictions, but yeah,
s
that is a
Oh, true.
spoiler for one of mine. But Steven is blindsided in a unanimous 5-1 vote, meaning Sage and Christina both ended up turning on him, which that was shocking to me.
Yeah.
I I wasn't like I guess I saw Sage's coming like as a possibility. I don't know that I really thought Soph was going home here.
I did
But
too.
I thought, okay, there's a chance that Sage decides to turn and Steven goes home. I did not see Christina voting. I thought she was, even if she knew for sure that Steven was going home, I thought she was going to give him like a pity vote.
Same. No, I agree. I was so shocked. I was like, "Wait." I even thought like I didn't see it right away that she voted for Steven, so I like even thought, "Oh, she didn't vote for him," but then she did. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy that she flipped on him," and like that was not great for her game, I think. I mean, already I don't think she was gonna win, but like even now, even more so. But I could see it for Sage as we were talking about that earlier as well of her point and just saying that she couldn't beat Steven in the end. So for her, I think it did make sense there, but for Christina, it didn't make any sense.
I really thought that this edit of like Soph, kind of confidently using her knowledge as power, thinking that she was gonna make this, great move and steal Steven's advantage to then like finding out it wasn't, she couldn't do it, and then she goes home. I just thought like that was kind of the ending to that story was Soph going home this week. But turns out it it didn't really matter because she's all three of them are still here somehow.
I know. I was like in shock actually. I was like, "Oh no." Like I was getting sad cuz I know like we haven't really talked about our draft in a while, but like Sophie's my only person
Oh
in
yeah, we
in my
need to
team.
look back
So
at
I'm
that
like
draft.
I want her to make it, but also I just like Sophie as a person also, so I also want her to make it. So I was getting really sad that she was gonna be going home, but that didn't even happen. So it
Yeah.
was great for me. I mean I obviously I like Steven as well, but I I'm glad that it was Sophie that was safe and not him.
Me too. So, of our draft, Matt still has Savannah and Sage. I still have Christina and Rizzo, and you have Soph. So, we are all still in this.
Wow. Yeah, that is exciting. Well,
Yeah,
we'll see. As we were saying, I don't know how much Sophie has a chance of winning, but there's always maybe she'll make a move this week.
maybe. Well, then let's get to our official predictions. So, let's each just kind of say how we think, like who we think is going to win, and then how we think we're going to get there. So, like who's going to be fifth, who's going to lose at fire, blah, blah, blah. Do you want me to go first? Do you have yours ready? What do you think?
Oh, I need some time to think, so you go first.
Okay. I'll go first. I think the Sage is going to go home at Final 5 because I think that she is the bigger threat of her and Christina. So unless Sage wins immunity, which is possible, I think that they decide Sage is the bigger threat of the two of them. She goes home. Then I think probably Christina, I mean, I hate to say I think that Christina probably loses at fire. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how good maybe she's an amazing fire maker. I have no idea. But from, I guess, just kind of what we've seen, I feel like it's very possible that it could end up being like, I could see if Savannah wins Final Four immunity, which feels very possible. I could see Rizzo volunteering to go in fire because I think he's just that type of player. Like, I think he's
Yeah,
willing to make those big, gestures in front of the jury. He wants those moments. So I
yeah.
could see Rizzo volunteering to go in against Christina, and then Rizzo, I guess, probably winning that. So then Christina goes home, and then it's Savannah and Rizzo in final three. And then I think that Soph probably comes in third. I don't know that she gets any votes. Maybe Alex's vote, just out of like, I don't know. loyalty and friendship and, their journey together. And then I think Savannah beats Rizzo. I think that the jury sees Rizzo as just kind of like this, almost like this little kid that who has made all these flashy moves, but I think they view Savannah as the brains of the operation and respect her game more, and they vote for her.
Okay. That's very good analysis. I feel like I would have said pretty similar things, so maybe now I'll give, like, an opposite
Okay,
view,
yeah,
I'll give
play
other
devil's
predictions.
advocate.
I don't wanna say the exact same thing, so I'm gonna go crazier route, and
Okay.
let's say Sophie does flip, and she votes Savannah out. Savannah doesn't win individual immunity this week, and Sage wins it, or maybe Sophie wins it, and then she goes on the side of Christina and Sage, realizing at this point she didn't use the knowledge is power right. She really does have to make a big move and gets out Savannah because Rizzo's going to
Ooh,
probably play his idol for himself. And
okay.
then at the final four, then it will be Rizzo obviously making fire with Christina. And then I think Rizzo, Sage, and Sophie will be in the final three. And then does
Okay.
that make sense? Okay.
Yes,
Am I
Rizzo,
am I
Sage, and
skipping
Sophie.
over?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Then Christina goes out on fire. I think
Yeah,
both
okay.
will have Rizzo, Sophie, and Sage, or maybe even Sophie tries to play against Christina and fire to like give herself an opportunity there.
Mhm.
So actually, I'll say Sophie does fire, even though I don't know how well she's gonna do on fire, but I want her to do well on fire, so I'm just gonna say Sophie. And then that makes it Sage, Rizzo, and Sophie in the final three. And then I think that of those three, Rizzo would win because I think with his story and just like overall, like that throughout the season, we have seen a lot of his abilities just socially and like not having to use the idol. That's gonna maybe pan well for the jury if they didn't think of him as like a kid playing the game. We're just getting that vibe, but maybe they are thinking separately that he actually is playing a good game, or his speech at the end could sway them in a different way because he is really good at speaking in that way too. So I don't know, but I don't see Sage or Sophie winning it overall.
Yeah. All right. Well, two interesting, unique routes
Yeah,
to get to the end here. So we will see if
yours
either
is
of
more
them end up being
believable.
correct.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
who
yours is the
knows?
more
Who
believable one,
knows?
but we never know.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we will find out pretty soon here, which
Yes.
what ends up happening. But I think unless there's anything else that we missed, I think that about covers it for Survivor. So let's move on to the Amazing Race. Molly, take it
Yes.
away.
Yeah, so we just concluded this season, which was all of our favorites, Big Brother, with some of their loved ones, or some that were double BB pairings. But as a whole, what were your thoughts on this season?
So I thought this cast was fantastic. I think I really love every individual person who was on this season. I think they were all very, very fun and seemed to really embrace being on the race. Like I think there was some questions of like with okay, they're Big Brother players, like are they going to really like try to just make this Big Brother, or and are they just kind of doing this for the screen time, and are they going to, or are they really going to like embrace being on the race and enjoy it and be willing to fully go all in with it? And I think that they did for the
Yeah.
most part. Like I really felt like they all really were in it, and I loved seeing, like, getting to meet all of the family members and loved ones of the Big Brother players, because there's most of them like we had heard of during their time on Big Brother. Some of them we had known a little bit from the online space, but we really didn't get to know them as individual people much until the Amazing Race and seeing them this season. So I really, really loved that. I think that the problem with this season, unfortunately, was just that Jag and Jas and Tucker and Eric ended up just dominating. Like those two teams won 11 out of 12 legs, and like it just was kind of a foregone conclusion that Jag and Jass were going to win this as soon as Tucker and Eric were eliminated. Like it felt like, how is anybody going to beat them unless Jag and Jass have some horrible, unfortunate luck at some point and get stuck or delayed somewhere for hours, and then somebody catches up to them. But like, barring something like that happening, it just felt like there was no chance that they were going to lose this. So that unfortunately took a little bit of the fun away from it, especially I think with the finale. But overall, I think because we were already invested in these teams, or at least one person from these teams, um, I still really just loved watching it. So I very much enjoyed this season.
I agree, and I feel like with Amazing Race, it's kinda hard to get to know some of the teams sometimes with it being of them, like, doing all the racing parts of it, and we don't get as much strategy and talks from them, so having knowledge of at least one of the person in each pair, I think, allowed us to then, like, pay attention more to the groupings and, like, understand the dynamics a little bit more, and you could see how people were able to work together with people they already kinda knew, or maybe they didn't want to work with other people and cause some drama also throughout the season. With that, in some ways, too, of having that like pre existing relationships with one another. Some exes, some current relationships with then turn ex, so there were some nuances there that
X's in
kind of
real
made it.
time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of made it fun to watch as well. So I would like to see them do this again with more BB alum in the future. I don't know about you, but I think it as a whole, as long as they make the teams, I think a little bit more evenly dispersed in terms of physical strength, then I think that could work better in the future.
Yeah, because like it made it to where even when the placings were very stagnant, which was most of the race, especially the second half, even with that, there was still plenty of inter-team drama. And they, with things like the driver's seat that they had in episode 3, which was a new part of the race, I believe, that started last season, where the first team to arrive at the next challenge gets to kind of like choose the difficulty level for each of the teams behind them, which I thought was a very fun, and for a season like this where there are a lot of pre-existing relationships, that is a great uh element to place in the game that can take advantage of those pre-existing rivalries and friendships and alliances and all of that. And then of course, like all the U-turns, like these things that can really inflame, put some gasoline on these pre-existing fires between teams like Izzy and Paige and Jag and Jazz, who have this rivalry from Big Brother 25. So I really thought that, normally in a normal season where these teams are all brand new, that may not have had much of an impact, because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, they did this to me, but like I only met them a few days ago. Like I can't be that mad about it.
Yeah.
And so, we're already invested in these stories. So even when things, the placings can be stagnant, at least we had some entertainment value.
Definitely. I agree with that
But yeah,
100%.
sorry, to answer your other question about should they do this again. I think that they should definitely do like similar things again. Like I don't know that they, maybe eventually do another Big Brother season, but I think we want to wait until probably at least like 4 or 5 more seasons of Big Brother have happened so that we can then get like, some new teams. Like we don't want it to, either be the same teams or for them to kind of get into some of the teams that we don't really care to see from these current seasons.
Yeah.
So I think, let's wait until we have some new blood to include on it. But I think in the meantime, we could do a Survivor season very easily. We could
Mhm.
do I'm sure season 40 of The Amazing Race will probably be some sort of all-star season of The Amazing Race. So I would certainly expect to see that. There's some Viacom, CBS, Paramount synergy with like MTV. We could do some challenge teams. We could do some, like I feel like there's other versions of this that we could do with familiar faces that they did season 31 was like that reality, I forgot what they called it, but it was people from various different CBS shows, Survivor, BB, Amazing Race. So they could do something similar to that again. Like, there's lots of options for them to do this that I don't want it every season. I think we want some new blood in there in the mix, but I think, every 2 or 3 seasons, something like this would be fun.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't thinking it'd be every season, but I think every so often when they have new people they could pull from, like I don't want it to be the same BB people, of course. So I also agree that they could bring in Survivor people, maybe the challenge, like what you're saying. So I think that could add some more fun aspects to it in the future as well. So we'll have to wait to see about that. But going back to this season, did you have any favorite moments throughout the season?
So I think the W turn was a big moment in the season, and that was very fun. Where they voted all right in front of each other, and had to pick two teams to U turn, and it caused a lot of drama when Kyland and Taylor decided to vote for Izzy and Paige. That was a big turning point where it caused a lot of drama, like on the line afterwards, like on chat bcc, which everybody who's not in should certainly be in, because you get a lot of we especially with the Amazing Race this season, there were a lot of the teams in there, a lot of the players that were just having conversations with each other about what was happening on the show, that you could kind of in real time see them hashing things out, that we want a reunion,
Yeah.
CBS, that this would be a great fodder for a reunion. But because they don't have one, they are using that space as their mini virtual reunion. And yeah, I mean, it's caused a lot of hurt feelings. Like, Taylor has unfollowed Joseph and they've unfollowed each other, I think, on Instagram. And I mean, there's a lot going on that I think really a lot of it all stemmed from that W turn vote. So yeah, that was a very big moment. I loved the reaction that Izzy had when she found out that Jag and Jazz had U-turned as Izzy and Paige, and Izzy just kind of like went off on Jag, and I mean we saw that all the way back to the premiere episode, that she still harbors a lot of resentment towards him for BB 25. So yeah, just little moments like that I thought were very fun. But all throughout, I mean, just seeing the teams just kind of interacting with each other, and there were a lot that I loved from this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that W turn definitely was a big turning point in this season, and I felt for Taylor for her, like obviously feeling like that she didn't have people she could trust there, but then also her then voting for Izzy and Paige. That was a bit hypocritical on her part of her thinking like, well, I want to support the women, and then voting for the only women team, or double women team. So I think that wasn't great, but it was interesting to see how obviously with chat BCC and all of it too, and the conversations that we're having there, that they could go in and actually chat themselves. Like, I was like, maybe this shouldn't be out in the public for us to see, but I'm glad we are seeing it.
I know, like, don't stop, but
Yeah, I know. So we'll have to hopefully they'll still do this throughout other seasons. I mean, obviously we see it with Big Brother and they're not out of the house yet, but when they come out of the house, then they come in
Mhm.
there and they're like talking in there as well. And Survivor, obviously, we get them in there as well. So if you're not in there, you should definitely be in the chats, because they're fun to see just throughout, like while watching it, like all the live chatter that's happening.
Mhm. Yeah, it's nice to get that, like, behind the scenes, and getting them in real time, the racers to be able to say, like, "Wait, they didn't even show this part," or, like, I mean, this is not uh, funny or happy, but like Joseph and Adam, or sorry, Jag and Jas, I think, were talking in there about how they experienced racism in various countries, that they had a hard time getting a taxi. And that people were yelling things at them, and so I think that having that context really helps when the show doesn't highlight it, to be able to say, things as serious as that, or just like, oh, they didn't show the fact that the two of us were fighting this whole time, or that we got lost, and it took us forever to get to this place, or whatever happened. Like, it's nice to hear this, because they can only show so much on the show, and not that they're intentionally leaving anything out that would, change the way that you view something completely, but to just get that added context, it really helps. It's like kind of getting what you would maybe normally the context you would get from Big Brother live feeds.
Yeah, for sure. Just add some information that we wouldn't have otherwise known about. So it's always helpful to get that from the cast. But let's go into our thoughts overall on a placement of the final four and the finale. So we can first, we'll just start with fourth place, which were Izzy and Paige. So, what were your thoughts on them?
I love Izzy and Paige. They're married now, which was very exciting to
Yay.
hear. Just I think maybe like 2 weeks ago they got officially married. So congratulations to them. And I love them so much. I think Paige was probably the my favorite of the non Big Brother players that we got to meet this season. I think that just I love their relationship between the two of them. I think they were such good TV, and I'm glad that we got to see them this time for a full season because Izzy had her BB25 run cut very short, and so I'm glad that we got a full season of Izzy and Paige here. And yeah, I love them. I don't know why they decided to hold off their elimination. I guess because the final leg was maybe not the most exciting. So we wanted some sort of unpredictability or something else to add to the finale they felt like was needed. But I'll take any more Izzy and Paige we can get. So yeah, I love them.
Yes, agreed. I loved getting to know Paige throughout this season as well, and I just love seeing their relationship. So I'm happy for them that they are now married. And I think it made sense that they were also the fourth place team here. Obviously, we knew that the other ones were just a stronger pairing. It seemed like at this point, obviously, like throughout the season, they were all like they were in it, but they weren't ever like the top. So
Yeah.
it made sense here. But then we had in third place Joseph and Adam. So what did you think about them?
I mean, I loved Joseph on Big Brother, so I was very very excited to see him and to get to know Adam. I love their relationship with each other. I think that they both seem very like supportive of each other, very patient with each other. I loved seeing like when Adam was struggling with heights and Joseph was just so supportive of him. And they almost got eliminated just a few weeks back, and it ended up being a non-elimination leg, and just their reaction to having another shot was just like it almost made me a little emotional. Like they were just so grateful for it, and yeah, I mean the Abden brothers are a national treasure that need to be protected at all costs. So yeah, they were very strong racers. Like I think in a lot of seasons, the two of them would have been a huge threat to win, but unfortunately, on a season with Jag and Jazz and Tucker and Eric, and I mean even Kylan and Taylor, of course, very strong as well. So I mean, on a season with very very strong teams, unfortunately, they just weren't quite up to that level to where they were ever able to win a leg. But I think in a lot of seasons they would have won multiple legs probably and been a huge threat to win.
Yeah, agreed. I think that they also just the circumstances they just didn't have the best chance here with having such strong teams also in this race, but I think making a third place still is a pretty great accomplishment for them, especially because they almost got eliminated, so they weren't even expecting to get there. So that's also was exciting, and it was a heartwarming moment when they realized it was not an elimination leg, which I feel like in any case like that, like you're always gonna be happy for someone, but I felt like extra happy for them. I don't know, it was really sweet to see how much they cared and were trying to really do well in the race. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that they made it there. And then second place, we had Taylor and Kyland, and I obviously have been a big fan of Taylor ever since she won Big Brother, and I was rooting for her in this race. And it was interesting because when she came into this season, we didn't really know that Taylor and Kyland were dating. Well, when it was filmed, we didn't know that they were together, and
Yeah.
now later on we found out now they're broken up. But like in general, I didn't really think like seeing them together. I honestly didn't really see the chemistry between them. I'm like, or are they just friends? Are they dating? Like I don't really know, but at least they were able to work together and make it to second place to the finale. They were so close, but still not the winners. But I felt like it was great to see Taylor again, even though now she's got some drama with the rest of her castmates here. But I think it was. I'm happy that she at least got to be there and experience it as a whole.
Yeah, no, I mean, when the season was filmed, I don't think anybody knew that they were together, and it seemed like they kept that very quiet and that they were very on and off. So maybe that's why they didn't want to make it public, because it seemed like they were maybe constantly kind of like dating, breaking up, dating, and so you don't want to put too much of a public spotlight on that. But yeah, I mean, I even to the point where, like, people were accusing them of either faking a relationship to get on the show, or producers just kind of, like, saying, "Okay, we'll pretend like you 2 are dating or something." I don't know. But, no, I mean, clearly it seemed like they were actually together, and yeah, it just was apparently when they were called to do it together, they had, like, just broken up 30 minutes before or something, and
Oh
then Taylor
no.
gets a call and calls Skyline back. It's like, "Well, we have an opportunity here." So, that was funny. I think they were talking a little bit about that in their exit press, after the
Mhm.
finale. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I love both Taylor and Kyland. I mean, that's like the case with every couple. I feel like I'm saying the same thing. I'm like, I love them. I love both of them. Like, but no, I really do. Of course, huge Taylor fan always, and have loved seeing Kyland on various shows. The Challenge, he's become done multiple seasons, and on Big Brother, of course, as well. He did very well. So yeah, I mean, they were always going to be a huge, strong team, threat to win. And I mean, even the beginning, they got the express pass and were had a very strong start to the season. So yeah, I think they were. I always envisioned them making the finale, and I mean, unfortunately, here they were just up against like a superhuman team.
Yeah, for sure. It was hard for them to overcome that, but I think it did make sense in the order. Obviously, we knew Jag and Jas were gonna be strong there, and it did seem like Taylor and Kyland had a chance in that puzzle, but they just weren't there fast enough, as that really just hurt them in the end. So, as our winners, we did have Jag and Jas coming out and running out on the Yankees field, and then we had the past castmates there as well, cheering them on. So, what do you think about Jag and Jess this season and in the finale?
I mean, Jag is just an incredible competitor at CBS reality TV competitions. Like the fact that I mean, it's a joke now on Big Brother where it's like Jag feeds her back, Jag won the power of veto again, and like every single week. And then here they won 7 legs out of 12. That's
Crazy.
incredible. Like that's I mean, actually, it's not quite a record. I believe 8 is a record, but incredible. I mean, the fact that Tucker and Eric basically won all the ones that they didn't win, but yeah, I mean, unstoppable. Who's going to beat them? I think, are an all-time amazing race team. I hope I would really, really be very interested to see them on the race again. To be honest, because even though like they're not the most exciting TV of all time, but I think they absolutely deserve to be on an Amazing Race All-Star season if they do that for 40 or whenever. Because I'd love to see them up against some of the other very strong teams from the past that have won or made finale and won a bunch of legs. I would be curious to see how they stack up against some other All-Star teams. So I mean, they absolutely deserve this. I think any other winner, as much as I love them, would have felt a little bit not undeserving, but like a little disappointing, because you want to see if a team wins all these legs, like they deserve to win in the finale.
Agreed. Yeah, because they were so dominant throughout the season. It just made the most sense at this point. Like, if anyone else were to win, it'd be like, whoa, like that's an upset that
Yeah.
they didn't end up getting it all. But I'm happy for them. They were talking about how they wanted to retire their parents to help support them. So that's always nice story to hear of like them helping out their parents. And obviously the representation they also are sharing for Sikh people. I think that's also great to see that again in reality TV. So I'm happy for them. And glad that they won the race.
Yeah, I mean, they just seem like really good people.
Yeah,
Like I think a lot of times these dominant, strong male teams are kind of assholes. Like, and so you don't want to root for them to win. But with Jack and Jazz, it's like you're dominant and you just seem like really nice people. So, I am not at all upset to see them win. So, congrats to them. And yeah, I mean, I would have been very happy to see any of these final four win. There's really not a team this season who I was really excited when I saw them get eliminated. So I think,
same.
yeah, I think just unfortunately some of the competitions this season were not ones that necessarily led to a lot of shakeups within the structure of the race. So that made it not the most exciting season, but I have loved seeing all of these teams super invested in all of them from before. And so I think this was a very fun season.
Yes, agreed. And well, that wraps us up for season 38 of Amazing Race. We'll have to wait to see when we'll get 39.
It's
But
already filmed.
oh, it's
So,
already
but
filmed.
it's
Oh,
not on the schedule for the spring. So it's going
okay.
to probably be about a year.
Okay. That's fine. So it'll come out like next fall again.
Probably. That's, I
Okay.
think, what most people are assuming.
Yes, well, we have the finale of Survivor to look forward to this week. So make sure you're subscribed for everyone listening because we'll be chatting about that very soon. Hear a debrief of the whole season and the finale. Hoping we see some of the predictions that we shared. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts and follow us at Let's Chat Reality on all social media. And we'll chat with you all again very soon. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye, everyone.